Good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, Executive Director of Oklahoma Correctional Professionals, along with State Representative JJ Humphreys. JJ, we have, I don't know, it just seems like it never, there's just so much stuff to talk about.
Bob, I was thinking that the other day. I was trying to think how long we've done this.
Yeah, I was
And,
thinking that too.
and I was like, we've been doing this for 4 years probably. And the thing about it is, every week you think, well, what are we going to talk about this week? We won't have much. Now, there was a time period where you thought, what wouldn't we have to talk about? I mean, they had a killing every day. Harp has done a really good job of making it where you can't find out anything. He's the biggest cover up. He's like one of them cats in one of them litter boxes. He just covers it all the time. That's what Harp. When I see, he looks like a little cat. Just going around the state covering up his little mess that he makes. You know what I mean? And so, Bob, there may have been 2 weeks during this whole 4 years where we were kind of, what are we going to say? But now, here lately, it's not been a problem to find something to talk about really in the 4 years. I don't think we've had any problem having something to talk about.
No, we would think we would. Well, what we're going to do next week. And
Bob, I've got more stuff laid out this week, so I don't think we're going to get to everything that we want to get to. But Bob, the first thing that I really kind of want to talk about is this article that come out, on Frontier, and I mean they nailed him. They nailed him on online. And what was funny, Bob, that was from, if you remember that hearing we had
yeah,
on the rapes because the AG said he investigated, but he didn't really investigate
right,
it. So
right.
we had a hearing, and I tried to get the subpoenas, and they wouldn't give me subpoenas, and Harp wouldn't bring over the people for the investigation. And at the end of that hearing, Danny Williams wanted Harp to speak. I really didn't care to hear anything to hear him, but Danny wanted it. Okay, got him up there. Now, here's what's funny. I can't remember whether we swore him in. We swore everybody in, but I don't remember if we swore him in because he was kind of just coming more to speak, not really as a witness. But Bob, during that deal, so let me look if I can pull that up here. Stephen Harp, the executive director of Oklahoma Department of Corrections, told state lawmakers at a 2023 hearing on prison sexual assault that the state contracted auditor considered Oklahoma one of the top for meeting federal anti-rape standards. So PREa is what we call that. So the PREa, prison elimination, what does that stand for? Prison
Act.
Rape Elimination Act. Prison Rape Elimination Act. The federal government comes in and does pre-investigations on us all the time. PREa audits, they list Oklahoma today as one of the gold standards for the federal PREa audits, Harp said. Gold standard for the federal PREa audits.
That's what he was told.
That's what he said. That's what he said. But the auditor says he never said that. The federal rules require Prison Rape Elimination Act auditors to stay objective and impartial. It would violate the rules to make any such claims, the auditor told Frontier in March 2024. I made no such comment, nor have I had any conversation with anyone in my role as a PREa auditor where I made comments, he wrote. So, Bob, he sat right there in a prison rape elimination hearing. Here's the deal. That's what we're in there for. We're in there that they cover up rapes. He sat down and sat there and said, we're the gold standard. He's the no standard, Bob. He's no standard. In fact,
well, recently there's been, I think there's been one, I'm not sure if there's two, didn't pass the PREa.
I've been hearing the same thing. So I haven't confirmed it. I know you haven't confirmed it yet, but we're hearing that they flunked audits. Now, Bob, what would be really interesting, what inquiring minds want to know I think, and you may know this better than I do, I think there's 2 audits that they get. So they get these guys like this that come in from outside their federal. So they have one group that is their own, and then they have the federal group that comes in and audit. Now, if they flunk their own audit, that's ugly, but not as bad. If they flunk the federal audit, that's bad juju, Bob.
Well, they'll lose their money they get from the feds. I don't know how much it is, but it's a pretty nice number.
Really ugly. I wonder how much money. I wonder if they get a couple $100 million. Probably, I would figure.
I don't know, but I know they'll lose it if it was the federal. Yeah, but here's what I've always heard, that before they audit, the audit team, the PREa audit team at DOC gets together and goes to the prisons where they're going to be looking at them. So they fix all the reports right, and they go in there and they give all those reports now, which they've already doctored. They give them to the guy to look at. He reviews them and says, "Oh, it's really good," but it's phony.
Bob, it's funny you should say that, because I've got a friend who was pretty high up in the institutions, and and I think he's ready to tell that they do. I think he would come in and say that he absolutely was told to change these, do that, do exactly what you're saying. I've got another guy who used to be a case manager. I think he'd be ready. He's told me the exact same thing. I think he would come forward. So I think there's people out there. Hey, Mr. Harpe, listen now. This is pretty ugly because you get into lying on forms, lying on the forms. Bob, I had a friend. He's dying, and this friend of mine, he was over all the maintenance stuff, and I was going to blow them up on some documentation. Same thing where they were falsifying these documentation, and it was on maintenance stuff. I was going to blow it up, but what it had done, this guy was going through some cancer treatment, and they were having him just sign off on it, and he wasn't even there. It would have been real easy to prove because he wasn't there. But if I'd have done it, this guy would have lost his job. He's having cancer treatment, and they were just using him. I mean, it wasn't his fault. They were using him. And so I just backed off of it because I didn't want to put him in harm's way, and he was going through enough. But Bob, now that we're sitting here talking, I mean, when you said that about the forms, it just I'm like, you know what? I need to look into that. I think I'm gonna go start looking into the PREa. Are they lying on PREa? Mr. Harpe, listen to me. You'd help me out if you would just come forward and admit that you lied in this hearing, that you lied in the. Bob, did you know? You remember the budget hearing that same year? I think it's 24.
Yeah.
So it's. I think maybe the beginning of 24.
One Ford ran.
Yeah, where he comes in and I asked him. I said, "Hey, I said I've been pretty hard on your raise and stuff." I said, "But now I heard how they explained how that was. You just brought that over from OMES. You made that over there, so you just brought it over." Well, guess what? He said, "That's right. That's what we did." Bob, you can't do that.
Now you're talking about money.
Yes, you're talking about $90,000 raise that he claimed he brought over from OMES. It's in that hearing. And again, I think he was sworn in at that hearing. I won't swear. But again, whether you're sworn in or not sworn in, Bob, if you're talking to a legislative committee.
We expected the truth, not to lie.
Unless it's Stephen Harpe, you'd kind of anticipate the other way. If his mouth's moving, he's probably not telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? So, Bob, it's just unbelievable. He sat right there and lied. And then Bob, he sent out a deal. I sent out a deal asking about, here's the statutes. And he's goofy. He comes up one statute. I sent him 3 and he can't even read the 3. So I sent him a statute saying, okay, the board can give you a raise. I sent him statute saying legislators can give you a raise, or the governor can approve your raise. There's 3 things.
Right.
Now, we need to fix that. It should only be 1, but there's 3. Now I sent him out a deal with through all channels. Please provide me please provide verification that you have authorization to give yourself a raise. He sends it back through all the channels. So we're talking to every legislator in Oklahoma, governor, everybody can see this thing. Of course, I ain't griping because I sent it to him like that. He sends it back. The state, I'm only going to tell you this one time. I've got this, Bob. I've got it saved. I'm only going to tell you this one time. The statute says it very clearly, the governor authorizes the raise. And you are the one who voted. This was done in 2019, and you're one of the ones who voted on it. You would think you would know what you voted on. Now, that's pretty rich because I'd already sent him the statute. In fact, he missed 2 of them. But my thing is, I turned around and I said, well, I get that. Would you please send me the authorization? Guess what? So So Bob, when you call him, he comes over here and makes a lot of noise on something. Statute. Fine, Mr. Harpe. That's what the statute says. There's 2 other ways, but fine the governor. If you want to just drill it down on the governor, because he's your best friend and he's your get out of jail free card. Okay, if you want to do that, then produce us what the governor gave you to give you that raise. Produce us what you hang your hat on. Bob, I wrote that in the other day for an open records.
Yeah.
So I've sent it in, said a formal open records act. Please provide the authorization. You know what the answer I got?
Probably said, we told you about that before. I don't know. What did he say?
No records available.
Oh, that's interesting.
What's that mean? What's that mean? If I told you I had no records available,
it means you don't have any records of it.
So how would you not have a record of a $90,000 raise? And if you don't have a record, then how did you give yourself a $90,000 raise? Now Mr. Harpe, you're the one who said, that it's governor, and you were pretty snarky, I might add. You really hurt my feelings the way you said that in front of everybody. But I got over it. But at the end of the day, in your little snarky remark, you made the big issue. The governor was the one, and now you have no record. Or unless you're lying, maybe you produce it. I don't know. Which lie are you going to tell today? You know what I'm saying? So one day he said, the governor is it. Please give me that governor's, no record available. That's going to be, if he ever gets in court, this boy's going to have it hard. If I ever get him in court, it's like, well, here's the email. Yeah, but I didn't mean that day. Well, what did you mean by the gold standard? What did you mean by the gold standard? On a rape, and we're in there on rape, Bob. The whole hearing is he covering up all this sexual, crimes going on? Is he covering up? And he gets up and says, we are the gold standard on investigating all these rapes. And yet, guess what? He's sitting there lying out his mouth. There is no gold standard.
Well, I had a guy tell me, and he said, I'll testify to this in court, that it's all phony. They doctor them up. They have the right forms they're going to give to that federal man that comes down there and audits them. And they make sure they're all right. They hand them to him. Oh, here they are. And
Bob, I got a case manager said they went and pulled all the files and changed all the reports.
Yeah.
He'll testify that, hey, they had him come in and do all that, change all the reports. And again, he said the exact same thing, that they know what cases they're going to do and they give them exactly, and they spruce them cases up. And yeah, I guess if you do it that way, you know what I'm saying? Well, Bob, based on the knowledge that we now have that he did lie in that, I wrote a little article. And so I sent a letter to the AG, but because I don't trust the AG a whole lot either. So what I do when I write the letter to the AG, I always write a letter to the media, letting the media know that I wrote a letter to the AG So we do everything out in the public. I like transparency, Bob. So I want just a real quick second. Representative J. Humphrey today commented on 2 bills he filed this year that would abolish the wrong deal, Bob. I got the wrong article. I can't believe that. I'll have to try to find. Let me look. Go ahead, Bob. I'm looking for.
I think I got that article.
I've got it, Bob. I just what I did. I don't know.
JJ, you had plenty of time.
Well, I didn't read it, Bob. I just pulled up the article.
I know.
Hey, you know what? While we're on this article, Bob, if you remember this article, this one's talking about that. I wrote that the Department of Corrections has dumped buku, and I don't know how many it is, but from what I've been told is that they're dumping all of these mental health inmates on Lawton. Okay,
that's what I'm hearing.
And they're just dumping hundreds. I don't know how many. I was told they probably got about 3/4 of the whole prison. That's possible mental health. And the reason I've tried to dig into that and try to learn about it, Bob, move you there you go. Lost you. We was looking at your dog. But anyways, here's the deal. They had an inmate down there that got his head cut off.
This is completely decapitated.
Decapitated, Bob. Cut his head off. Okay. And now
I think they might have been mad at that guy.
Well, what I learned about that guy, now I don't know how they quite classify that, but I think they classify these mental health inmates like Class A, Class B, Class C, and then maybe there's a Class C2 or 2C or something like that. So Class A is just your general run-of-the-mill crazy. Class B is just a little higher grade crazy. Class C is like howl at the moon, get buck naked, howl at the moon crazy. And the other class 2C or C2 or whatever, creepy old C2 or something, I don't know. But that one is, I'll kill you crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's psycho crazy. And so apparently down there, they got more than their fair share of psycho crazy. Now, the reason I found all this out, I was trying to check on this beheading, and so it turns out that I'm drilling in on all of these mental health people, and that basically what I found out was, hey, this guy probably shouldn't even been there. Now, I can't say for certain, but it looks like, because we have mental health facilities, this ain't a mental health facility. And so what I wrote an article, because Bob, I'd written an article before saying that the mental health has no beds, and they're dumping all these mental health on the Department of Corrections. Now, that's not Harpe's fault. And here's the deal. When we call it like it is, we're not going to blame something on Harpe that he didn't do, because we don't have to, because Harpe's got a lot of stuff we can blame. We don't have to make it up. You got plenty, Director. We don't have to make it up. But here's the deal. Mental health is not having appropriate beds. They're dumping all these mental health people on the department. So, back when they created it's Joseph Harpe, it's got them beds, right, Bob? I mean,
yeah.
So that's what they created. We need
Albo did that back when, rather than the doctor going to 2 or 3 different places, going all the way to McAllister, they had places there. They did at Harpe, turned it into mental health.
Right. So you get
not the whole prison, but they have a facility there set aside where they have all the mental health people at.
Yeah, I've been down there. You remember me and you went and toured down there one time, and we didn't go into that ward, but they showed us that ward, and we was like, hey, I don't need to go down there and see that ward. I get it, but they had a whole different section. If I remember right, it's behind another fence. I mean, it's kind of its own prison sitting in there,
Well, back at the time he did it, it was a good deal because they got most of them under one at one place, and we had so many more mental health people. And I was listening to a guy talk, Chris Steele talk Wednesday at a meeting I was at, and he was talking about all the problems they got. And they got so many mental health institute. They're not trained for it either.
No, nobody can deal with all the mental health that has been the result of all these drug charges that they keep. Nobody's supervising them. Nobody's doing anything with them. And we got fentanyl coming in. Fentanyl's a really big kicker behind that, Bob. And so we've got fentanyl coming in the communities, but we got fentanyl coming in the prison system large too. Now, hopefully what Trump's doing on the border, I do believe that will be cut down. I think we're going to see a big cut down. But Allball had Allball stayed around, Allball had some good ideas.
Yeah, he did.
Prisons. And so but they were trying to demand of him, and he just like, hey, either I run it or y'all run it. And he got up and walked out of a meeting one day and just resigned, which you got to kind of respect that as well. But Bob, here's the deal. They got all these people dumped on them, but why are they dumping all their mental health people? Because what I understand, these type of people, the type of guy that cut that guy's head off, shouldn't have been at that facility. He should have been somewhere like Harpe at a mental health facility. So obviously they don't have enough places, enough beds to keep all their high rated, but you would think they would expand that.
Part of that's the state's fault for not taking action on this.
Well, I blame, hey, listen, I've tried to not speak about our governor, and I've tried boy, I've heard people all the time for the last couple of years. He's got blood on his hands. He's responsible for Harpe being there. He's just as responsible for Harpe. And I always, hold on. You not anymore, Bob. Bob, you can't not see the dereliction and the total disaster that Harpe has been. You can't. I mean, hey, James.
Hey, before you go, by the way, there was another death at OSP this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was going to say James Brown sings that what is it he says for he sings, Bob always sings, good God. He's like,
but we have a mental health problem that's not being addressed in the way it should be. And I can understand, I don't think they probably don't have the money to put all the money into it. And our officers are not trained to take care of mental health people.
Well, we're not equipped, but here's the problem. I don't blame that on Harpe, but you know what I do blame on Harpe? When does Harpe come out? When does Harpe come out and say, hey, you're dumping all these mental health people? And again, here's the deal. If Harpe was the decent director that he should have been, he would be working with us, and he wouldn't have to say it. We would say it for him. We would work with him to get all of this done and work to protect the employees, work to protect the inmates, and thus work to protect the public. But Harpe doesn't. Harpe tries to, like I say, he's part cat in the litter box. Oh, no problem over here. No problem over here. Y'all just keep dumping these people on us, and we'll keep letting people go out and cut people's heads off. And Bob, how does that stay quiet? You really hadn't heard. How does a man getting his head cut off stay quiet? How does two officers getting the crap beat out of them, one getting a concussion, don't even come out? How does an officer getting stabbed in the femoral artery stay quiet? We can't even get his name. How does that happen? I mean, how does this director have such a hold on all the employees that they're so scared? Bob, you won't believe how many people come up to me and go, if they even knew I talked to you, they'd fire me.
Yeah.
So you can't. I've had two people say that he went in to, places where there was more than one employee in there and say things against OCP and things against me. He talked trash on me and you, Bob. Can you believe that?
That's very. I can't.
That's hurtful. That's hurtful. But here's the thing. The problem is that he's going after us when we could have helped him. We would have loved to work with him and helped him. And instead, he declared war on us right out of the box. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He declared war on OCP right out of the box and said, I ain't working with Bob. Come to me. If you want to work with us, you can. But if you stay with Bob, we're not going to do it. It wasn't just you, Bob. It's OCP. We're not going to work with OCP. We're not going to work with Bobby Cleveland. You know what that meant to me, Bob?
What?
That because let me ask you something. Are you OCP? I mean, are you, once you're gone, does OCP cease to exist?
No.
No, we've had directors before. We'll have directors again.
Speaking of that, I'm fixing to quit and let somebody else take this over. And we got somebody in mind. So
we have a really good person in mind. A really
I've been
great
doing
person.
it long enough. Time somebody else take a hold of it.
Well, Bob,
JJ, I really enjoyed the things I've learned in the prison. These people that work in the prison, I'm talking about from the cook to the nurses to the COs to everything. Anybody that works there put in 20 years of service. Even without Harpe, that is a tough job.
They got one of the toughest jobs there are, Bob.
Now they got Harpe, and he's even makes it worse for these people. They go home at night, they're going to have a job the next day.
He's a dictator, bully, fire people just because they, he's no leader. Harpe is the worst person in charge I have ever seen over any state agency. I will say over any state agency so far in my 35 years of public. He is hands down, walk away, top winner of the worst director, worst leader I have ever seen in my life. Worst, no question.
Well, again, with the employees there, I just learned to have so much respect for them.
Well, Bob, and
especially now.
Well, the point that I was making, when he goes after me and he goes after you, fine. We're big boys. We can take care of it. I actually enjoy it. Mr. Harpe, I actually like you to talk bad about me. Makes me feel good. But here's the thing. When you go after the employees, OCP is not Bobby Cleveland. OCP is not JJ Humphrey. OCP is not Ramsey or some of these other great guys that we have, Jason Lemons and Dooley and some. I would name some more. You notice I'm naming all the people who don't work for him, Bob, because we got some more we could name, but they're working for you, Harpe, and we know if we name them, you're the sorry trash that would fire them. That's what kind of person you are. You can't even take that somebody can have a different opinion or work, and you would fire them because you're a low life. You're a low life human being, Harpe. That is really, really pretty low. When anybody.
Well, JJ, let's get back to these mental health people that have it.
I I'm on a roll talking about that director, but I'm with you. Okay.
Well, I'd like to talk about that because I know you found some things out, and we're seeing more and more people at one particular place that's not set up for it.
Well,
why are they doing this? Why are they sending these people there?
And it's funny that I had the wrong article because what that article is about is why I believe they're dumping those people in there. And
find that article.
Huh?
Find that article.
Well, this article is talking about that the reason I think that he's dumping so many people in there. And Bob, if you saw the article, did you see the article that he came out with the day the Oklahoman come out with, where it's talking about the budget and his budget hearing this year, where he said that he wanted to buy the prison for $314 million. He's wanting to buy Lawton for $314 million. Well, let me ask you something, Bob, and that's what this article is about, is why has he waited till this last minute? So he comes in here in January or late January, I think, and tells right before February, tells the budget people, well, we're probably going to want to buy Lawton for $314 million. Now, this guy's had 3 years to make a plan what to do with Lawton and Hinton and all of that. But yet, and he can't You know how
Hey, JJ, just a second. Was that quote, was that meant for both prisons that we have in the state that's owned by GO Group?
no. That's 1-314. And Bob, that's the thing that I'm trying to tell people. Okay, you got Lawton with about 2,300. And the reason I'm showing that they dumped all of these mental health people over there, I think they're trying to make it look bad to tell legislators, you ain't got any choice. You got to buy this. And he's done, either he's stupid or he's forcing them. I don't know which, but anyways, he's had 3 years to come up with a plan. He's done nothing in 3 years. Now he's had 1 year because he knew, Bob, if you remember, we got in a big argument with them. Stitt and Harpe talked trash about Geo, and we managed to get a 1 more year contract. So at the beginning of that, when they made that contract, they had 12 months to get something done. Guess what? Here we are. You know, we're 3 months away from this contract being up. And what have they done? They've done nothing. If they've done anything, I'm totally unaware. And I would say me and you are some of the most people who's watching corrections. So if they've done anything, it has been, you know what I'm saying? I mean, super black ops. Oh, it's been super black ops secret, which they're not good at keeping, or they haven't done anything. So, Bob, why would they dump all of these mental health people over here? Which looks like a play to make us buy it. And then we're going to buy it for $314, but never mention, oh, we got Hinton over here that the same people own, contract coming due at the same time, and we have 2,000 something, 2,200. What do we got over there? So Bob, let's put it in context. 4,500, 4,000 to 45, closer to 45, I'm going to say, of some of the highest risk inmates in our institutions. And where are we going to go with it? What plan have you heard? Who does that, Bob? Not even a plan out there. I'm a legislator. I'm a person who stays on top of correction stuff. You're a person who stays on top of correction stuff. We visit with people all the time who stay up on top of correction stuff. And yet we cannot tell you one plan that they've mentioned. Now, I know I'm hearing possibly they may be trying to look for beds. But, Bob, here's the deal. I put that in that article. Guess what? We used to be about the only game in town. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of people out there looking for that number of beds, okay? Now you have Trump catching all these illegals, and ICE is looking for about any bed they can find. And would you rather deal with the federal government, or would you rather deal with Oklahoma State, who talks trash on you and who's all the time causing you trouble? Well, I know who I'd rather deal with. Now I'm going to come and say, you want to buy the prison? You know what? We'll price it. We'll price it to the crazy.
Well, you know, if I was looking at that, going to the legislature or going to the governor and saying, you know, they want $314 million, I would give some examples. Well, you know, that's a good buy. Well, so and so we could get, you know, they want 400 million. You know, you got to get some type of an ideal and look and see if that's a good price.
Well, Bob, that's the problem. Is our legislators don't even ask that. What legislators would go? See, if I was in, they took me out of that meeting, and the reason they took me out of that meeting, in fact, if you remember at the budget meeting before, they wouldn't let me ask questions. I couldn't ask questions. JJ, you just write your questions down. JJ just write. You know why? Because they couldn't answer them because it would look embarrassing. And in fact, they weren't going to come to the meeting. Get this, Harpe was not even going to come to the budget meeting. DOC was refusing to come to the budget meeting. And I never heard it stated, but I know why, because I was in there. And so they showed up, but why they showed up was because they called leadership, and leadership had told our chairman to put the lid on me and not let me talk. Okay, so, and I know that because when I walked in, we can only talk about budget issues. That's all I'm going to talk about. You know, money is at the heart of everything I'm saying.
Well, you know, JJ, overall out at the Capitol, my own opinion is there's only me and you that really knows what's going on.
Well, nobody cares what's going on, Bob. Nobody cares. So to give you an example on this, if I'm sitting in a budget meeting, my question is, what are you going to do about these 4,500 inmates that we're going to have to find another place for?
Right.
Now, he was asked about it, and he said, well, we're probably going to want to try to buy that. And somebody asked him, I think, well, is that a good price, or is that kind of along the same line, common sense, what you were talking about?
Right.
And he said, well, it costs more to build one. Now, why would you let him up on that? Okay, first of all, who have you bid it with? Second of all, did you look at purchasing land, or did you look at building it on land you already have existing? Did you look at using the infrastructure that you already have? Because, Bob, let's face it, getting water to a facility and all that's a big deal. They have places where they're already set up to do that. So are you looking at one of those places, or are you looking at just dropping out here and building a total? And it's like building a city, Bob, because you put 2,000 people, give you kind of a 2,000 people would be more than Colgate probably. The city of Atoka has 3,600. So if you put 2,500, you're talking about a pretty good sized little town that you're talking about building out there. So it's no small task to put a prison, and it is going to cost a lot of money. I don't know, 314 seems pretty darn steep when you got already land. They got all kinds of land. They don't need to buy new land. So, Bob, that's what I'm looking at is what was the plan? You could buy, I can name you 3 to 4 facilities right now that are vacant that you could take $50 million and spend on them, and you could move your lower, your less risk inmates to those facilities, beef up your already existing facilities, go in and do some work, and for $315 million, I can house you a whole lot of people way cheaper and way better environment, spread them out more, less people at one place. It's just common sense. We could get some technology that he's talking about, but he never gives bits. When he was at OMES, Bob, when he was the director of OMES, what you saw all of a sudden, every one of these agencies, I've turned into
quit bidding.
They quit open bidding. They quit using POs. They quit using everything. They quit doing practices that were put in to keep people from committing crimes, thieving, embezzling, and he took it all away. Now, you got to ask, why does he do that? You always got to ask. We had Swaddley's barbecue. That was what that's all about. You know what I'm saying? And he's the master of it. And that he comes over here. He never gives you an answer of, oh, we're going to use more technology. We're going to use this facial recognition stuff. Only guess what? You never hear, oh, is that already existing? This is not somebody's not developing this equipment for us. It's already there. Why would we have to give millions and millions of dollars for it? And maybe we do. I'm not saying we don't, but what I want to see is 3 bids. Like you know what, Bob? You've been in government for a long time. 3 bids. Show me 3 bids. Show me who did you bid to get a price on building the prison?
Hey, when we shut down the prisons, did we still own them? Did we sell the property or building or what? Do you know?
Well, here's the deal. When we shut down Fort Supply, we own that building. Okay,
right, we're on the land.
And again, they lied about all that. That wasn't in that bad shape. They went and used old buildings. They weren't. That was a big facade. Okay, they could go out there and fix that for a couple of $1 million. Even if they put 30 or 40 million in it, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than building something for 314 million. Bob, the Sayre, we left Sayre, went to Hinton, which was a disaster. Whoever did that, whoever went, what's funny, they go out there and they do that, and they go in there and they get Hinton. It's got these that was never built for it. Hinton was built to be a transfer station. Bring people in there, hold them for a minute, and move them. Okay, it's a federal transfer station, is what I understand. 8-man cells, permanently putting 8 people in there with a little open commode for 8 guys. That's insanity. Whoever went and leased that ought to have their butts whipped. Okay, they left Sayre, a good prison, for that. they had problems at Sayre, but instead of addressing the problems at Sayre, if they were going to buy a prison, they should have bought that. But they're like, oh, well, it's out there and you can't get nobody. No, it wasn't that. It's y'all are failures at functioning and hiring people and getting something done. So now they're looking at, they're going to have to probably do something with Hinton. They're going to have to buy Hinton. But Bob, nobody holds them to, okay, what size prison? You know, he says it's too expensive. Nobody asks him, well, what size prison are you looking at? How many beds are you looking at? Are you looking at a maximum, minimum, medium? Because guess what? They're different costs. You know, are you looking at what's the water? What's the gas? What's all of these things? Nobody asks him one question. He just walks in there and says, it's too expensive. Y'all take my word for it. I know so much about prisons that y'all need to, you know, I'm so knowledgeable. Y'all going to have to just depend on what I say. And that's the legislator's fault. And Bob, that's what I'm suing them over. Hey, Brother Harpe, we're going to sue you. It's going to be fun. I guarantee you lots of stuff going to come out on you. So here's the deal. They made an agreement with House leadership. And I believe, I believe I have the documents to show this, that it wasn't just an agreement to keep me from getting records. It was agreement to not have subpoenas. It was agreement to not do investigations. And it's agreement not to, allow bills that are correctional bills to come to committees. And it's agreement to knock me out of chairmanship, knock the correctional committee out so that they don't answer to nobody, and to get me off the budget. Because guess what? I was the only one in there that was asking these types of questions. So bam, remove me. And now he's got willy-nilly. He can do whatever he wants, except we'll get a lawsuit on you. And all of this stuff, very well documented, will come out. I hope, Bob. We'll see. Don't say nothing till you do it. That's the deal.
Well, I know that I know we're in trouble, but I can also see that like 2 years ago, if we're looking back, 2 years ago, we had no idea we were going to have all these illegals, and they can find places for them.
Well, Bob, you know, that is true. We didn't know that we were going to get competed against, but at the same time, what were you doing? I mean, let's take that out of the equation. Let's just say we didn't have all the illegal issues. You still have to make a plan. You don't wait till 3 months before to make a plan. You make a plan. Bob, if you went in today to the Department of Corrections and you took over, what would you do?
First, you got to figure out what we're going to do with these inmates that we have.
Well, I'll tell you what
but it's costing more. Another reason it's costing more is that we're getting these older people that are in there. They've been in there now up to 50s and 60 years old. Take more medical. So the medical is just killing us. And
well, Bob, and there you go. You're talking sense. Okay, you would say medical and older inmates. Okay, and then we'd say mental health inmates is an issue, and then we would say lack of facility and our facility is falling apart. It's an issue. Okay, and then you would say that I would move up to the top, lack of staff. Now, here's what's funny. When he addressed the budget, he minimized. Yeah, it's a problem. But you know, we're trying to deal with that. And we doing 80% retention, which is the biggest, baddest, ugliest. That's the worst lie. And again, we could prove that. So he didn't just lie on one thing. He lied right there too. But he minimizes it. Why doesn't he come out, Bob, and say, we're in a mess. We need the National Guard. We need
something's got to happen. I can't believe the feds and all the murders that we've had, all the deaths that we've had the last 3 years is
it's insane. But
it's really unbelievable. You can't believe that this happened. You know, they also killed a guy that OSP. Did they kill him and cut him up and put him into the trash can?
I'm not sure on that one, Bob. I know OSR had a murder too, and they had one, I think, metaflighted, or at least he was in the hospital.
Well, Lark had a murder. They had problems too, and Harpe. Yeah. You know, the people of the prisons, that used to be never be a problem.
Yeah, it's all
up that prison up there by you.
Yeah, McLeod
Or
McAuliffe.
Never heard anything out about them. Now you start looking here every day. You're hearing about some incident.
Crabtree's the same thing. Hamilton's the same thing. Brand, all of them.
Is this all because that we got wardens in now that aren't experienced?
Well, Bob, he's fired everybody or run off everybody who has any kind of correctional experience, and he's brought over all his cronies. And you talk about nepotism, favoritism, and cronyism, all the stuff that we tried to get gone. And guess what? This is the author of all of it. And he brings over all of his people who have zero experience, no knowledge. He gets rid of everybody. And you start looking at wardens. And again, you've just got a lot of people. Now, there are a few left out there, but most people don't have experience. You're seeing lieutenants with 3-4 years in. You're seeing deputy wardens with 3 years in. You're seeing wardens with 4 years or so in. Guess what? There's no experience, that level of experience that prepares you for that job. But Bob, that's what I'm saying. He minimizes. He won't even come out and say, "Boy, we got a massive problem, and here's the largest problem we got." Minimizes it. But Bob, what you would do is take.
Just a second. When we talk about that on medical, how they're going up, and what do? We go ahead and start firing nurses.
Oh, and massive fire, not just halfway. He's firing head top people. He's firing. What's going on with that, Bob? And there's a lot of problems in the medical with their drugs and who's over that and who writes prescriptions and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, he's got problems.
I'm hearing people writing prescriptions, getting signed off on that person's no longer even there anymore, and they still use this.
If I had time just to do a deep dive investigation on them, I will promise you, I without a doubt, I could come up with multiple felonies right now just on what we're talking about. And again, that goes back to falsifying PREas, falsifying medical, falsifying, maintenance stuff. And again, what do you want to bet that if we went in there, I tried to get a subpoena on these logs, and they're doing away with all the logs. They're doing away with, because guess what? They were having to lie on them. They were cheating on them, and I started asking for them, and I couldn't get a subpoena on them, and they wouldn't give them to me. Here I was, correctional chairman, and can't even get a log on. Let's just see how many employees showed up today. Now, the reason they didn't want to give me that, because they knew if they would give it to me, I would go out and prove that they're lying, and I would have them on. And again, they lie on everything. They're cat covering up crap. And if the state would allow one little fat cowboy to go in there with where they couldn't deny me access, undeniable access, I will guarantee you, I guarantee you, within a month or two, we would have people, if you could find somebody that would charge them. I've done handed out stuff this week, that said I got the wrong memo, but hold on. Let's see. Humphrey asked that this, Bob, I actually did have this. I just looked over there. I had two of them buried under one paperwork.
We'll read it. We don't have a lot of time.
At a 2003 interim study he held on prison assault, Director Harpe stated the federal auditor had considered to be the top status for the meeting federal anti-rape stuff. That's what we just read, what she read. I'm not going to reread that he lied on that, saying that he was the gold standard. This disciplinary raises concerns about accuracy and integrity of the statements made by Harpe. Humphrey said in an email to the Attorney General. Humphrey was chair of House Criminal Justice Corrections at the time of study, and he now is vice chair of House Public Safety Committee. Furthermore, during 2023 House Public Safety budget hearing, Director Harpe reported $90,000 salary increase, alleged transferred from his prior position as Director of Office of Management Enterprise Service. Humphrey wrote, also contending that he believes it is an illegal transfer salaries between agencies this manner. Humphrey continued, additionally, the Oklahoma Department of Corrections verified in a response to the open records request that there is no record of any authorization for his salary increase. Director Harpe later wrote to the legislator stating that their salary increase was from direct, must be approved from the governor. Given these circumstances, Humphrey said he would appreciate the Attorney General's legal opinion on the following. Does the director of the agency, such as Director Harpe, need to be sworn in to legally be required to tell the truth and honest statement? I don't think he ought to have to be, Bob, but golly, I guess we'll see. Based on the alleged false statements during the two House meetings, could Director Harpe be charged with perjury? Is Director Harpe's actions of increasing his salary without authorization a case of embezzlement? If so, which agencies would be responsible for investigating and prosecuting all of these alleged crimes? In the light of Director Harpe's alleged, and I say that just so there ain't no alleged to it, but we'll say alleged just in case. Harpe's alleged lies about sexual assaults in the Department of Corrections and the possibility of cover-up, would you consider reopening an investigation into the evidence of these allegations? Because he didn't investigate the rapes. Now we got Harpe lying about the rapes. We got him dead banger lying. Don't you think that would warrant opening the rape investigation? And again, we could throw in, how about we lock people in 2x2 showers? I'm learning more about that investigation and the old boy that did it. I got a copy of that the other day and started looking into who actually did that. I think that boy's name's Bales. I got to go back and look at that. Sir, I don't know if you watch this or anybody who knows you watches this, but I would go out and hire a lawyer right now. I would really hire a lawyer because you lied on that document. There was many documents that showed those people were locked in there. People knew that, very easy to prove, and you covered it up and you lied intentionally and covered up human rights violations. That's what we call bad juju in the criminal justice business. So, Bob, I think there's a lot going on. I know the people and the employees are pretty, frustrated, depressed. But hang on, we trying to get you some help.
Well, it's never, it doesn't cease. It just keeps on going. Something else will come up, next week we'll have. And this prisons are in a complete, just a chaos. They don't have enough people. Sending people from one prison to go to the other prison to work. I think out in Hinton, they don't have enough people there, so they're taking people out. But he turns around and says, "Oh, he has enough people."
Well, Bob,
he has enough people. Why are we sending people from Oklahoma City area for any other prison over to Hinton?
Well, Bob, when does he come out with the plan? The transportation. Remember when all our bridges, we were just broke down. We were, and they come out with an 8-year plan. And we've done a great job on trying to fix our roads and doing some stuff. Got a lot more work to do, but you can see progress. You can see, where is the plan? Where are you going, Harpe? You don't have a plan. That's the deal. You don't know enough to make a plan. You wouldn't know how to make a plan. He
spends a lot of money.
Well, the technology he buys is a joke. Stop flying around and partying. Stay home for a second and actually study some of this. And quit being such a, little governor's boy, and let's actually fix the prison system. But Bob, I can tell you this: I totally do not believe that there will ever be an opportunity to get better until you remove him and you remove everybody kind of around him, because he has infested. And I just don't think. Bob, I never would have dreamed in all my wildest days it could get as bad as what it is right now.
No, we've had so many deaths this past 2 years, really.
Well, Bob, and they're covering the deaths up. I've got to really, and you know what I'm doing and trying to, I think I've got a way. I think I've happened upon a way to prove that they are covering up murders. and the murder I've got them on that I'm working on filing the lawsuits and all that with. All this is going to do is it's going to make that case, and it's going to prove exactly what I was saying is 1,000% right. And if I can prove that, it will blow the lid off. There will be no maybe. There will be no we think. It will blow the lid off of Stephen Harpe's schemes and lying scandals that he's done since he's been there.
Well, it never ceased to amaze me that what he's doing. What I think is interesting to me is it changes the mottos around to say things that just not accurate.
Well, Bob, what gets me is he tries to pretend like he so much cares for the inmate and we're going to change things so much for the inmates. He ignores the staff. And he even come out with a survey not very long ago and admitted couldn't get none of the staff to answer what staff did, said they couldn't stand him. And so he's going, I'm going to go around to every prison and we're going to find out. But now if you're negative, we're going to put that on your PMP now. So tell us the truth, but don't tell us the truth, because if you do, we're going to hold it. You know what I'm saying? Insane. But they told him they can't stand him, and that's the problem. But he says, "Oh, we're going to take care." And they said that's the problem. They put the inmates over the staff. But here's the deal: are the inmates better? Are the inmates being raped? Are the inmates being killed, murdered, extorted? You know,
I've had inmates that's gotten out of prison in the last 3 years, and they say every one of them that I've talked to, they've never seen drugs in their. One of the guys been there in prison 20 years. He talks about the drugs that's in there now, and it's never been nothing like that.
I got prisoners calling me every day, Bob, and everyone. I got a prisoner the other day telling me about there at Allen Gamble. They're wide open. They let the UBs and they let the Bloods run the facilities, leave it wide open, and that those two can go anywhere willy-nilly.
And they still have assault on officers too. That's increased.
Well, and he's telling them not to even report it. It's what's being told to me.
Right.
I mean, wow. And don't file. Who doesn't file charges on their officers being assaulted? That'll tell you what. Wow, director. Wow. You know, you can't even protect your own staff. When something happens, you should file charges and protect your staff.
Well, JJ, we got to go. We went through it. We're hours up, so just leave us a good statement to go on next week.
Well, I just want to leave you with the statement on PREa. There is no gold standard. There's just no standard. There's no standard, Bob. Harpe's got no gold standard. He has no standard. And we're going to get to that and all the lying and falsifying records. We're going to jump on. That's going to be my next push, Bob, is catching falsifying records.
Well, I think you're going to have your hands full on that one. But we appreciate everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.